Alright, welcome to another article by Rosemary Westwood. Surprise, surprise. Okay, let's get down to it. Halifax trans football player says media attention and reason for McDonald's firing. Kenny Cooley says he was caught off guard over a decision after making headlines for suiting up with Halifax West Warriors. I guess that's a football team. This is apparently a trans person going from female to male. You usually see it the other way. I guess he wanted all that male privilege everyone keeps talking about. Okay, a Halifax high school football player who made headlines around North America for being the first trans player on his team says he was let go from McDonald's partly due to media attention. Partly. I'm guessing there was other reasons to his dismissal from the wonderful place to work at McDonald's. Kenny Cooley, a 17-year-old student at Halifax West, said 2 days after his story first appeared in Metro on September 12th, he was called into the McDonald's on the Bedford Highway, where he'd worked since April. So he's worked there for about 6 months. 1, because of the media, and 2, because of some schedule mishaps, he said during an interview Wednesday. Okay. When asked about Cooley's dismissal on Wednesday, a McDonald's spokesperson did not confirm he had been let go from the Brantford location, but forwarded an email statement from the owner-operator, Bob Smith. Smith said he was shocked by the allegations as they were simply not true. Cooley said he was told his employment was being terminated. I have always been a local business owner for more than 25 years, and I pride myself on operating an open and diverse workplace. At my restaurants, inclusion has always been an important part of my work culture. Our philosophy has always been to bring your whole self to work. By doing so, we encourage an open and accepting workplace that allows everyone to contribute their personal best, Smith's statement said. Well, thank you, Ronald McDonald. After his story was first reported in Metro News, Cooley had his story picked up by the international outlets like ABC and the Washington Post, as well as national ones like CTV National and Canadian Press, and gotten positive feedback since then, he said. It was like a really uncomfortable setting. It kind of made me feel really bad, he added. Well, I don't know why. Okay, let's assume for the fact that this manager did let him go from all the media attention. It really doesn't sit well. Usually, if somebody had this kind of media attention, you would want them to work at your place because it would just, motivate people to come see this person. But whatever. Let's keep going. As for the scheduling mishap, before it was mishaps, now it's been downgraded to one mishap, Cooley said he had thought it was resolved when it happened 2 weeks ago. It revolved around Cooley having a schedule that read a different time shift than the one his McDonald's manager had. Well, how does that even happen? Metro went to the Brantford store on Wednesday evening and asked to speak to the restaurant manager, but was told by a staff member she was unavailable to speak, but they had worked on the statement with their lawyers. Soon afterwards, Metro received a statement from Bob Smith. Getting fired usually feels pretty shitty. I mean, usually they post schedules that the manager makes, and then everybody knows what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense for the manager to have a different schedule, but I don't know. What do I know? Cooley said his mother is thinking about taking the case to the labor board to see whatever if it qualifies as wrongful dismissal, and he agrees. Well, okay, in Canada it is illegal to dismiss somebody for being trans, so if they have a case, the labor board will see it out. It's not that he wants money or compensation per se. Yes, it is, Cooley said, but would like an apology from the store and McDonald's. Well, that's assuming that they actually did let you go for being trans and not just the scheduling mishaps or mishap, whichever one it is. It's not right, Cooley said. Well, if they let you go for scheduling mishaps, then, yeah, it is right. Oh, you thought this story was over? Not by a long shot. Canadian social justice warriors wouldn't let this story die. Halifax LGBTQ group calls alleged firing of trans teen from McDonald's discrimination. Of course they do. Ask for apology. Of course they do. A local LGBTQ group says the McDonald's Corporation should apologize to protect its reputation worldwide. Yes. It should apologize to protect its reputation. This has nothing to do with control or shaming or anything like that. After a trans teen says he was let go from the company over media attention, which he wasn't. That was one of the reasons, even according to the teen. Kenny Cooley, 17, spoke to Metro about being the first trans football player on his high school's football team last week. He later made headlines in both national and international news outlets. That's funny because this is the first time I've ever been hearing about it. During an interview Wednesday, Cooley said he was fired from Brantford Highway location of McDonald's 2 days after the story initially ran. Cooley said he was given 2 reasons for dismissal, 1 because of the media, and 2 because he had some scheduled mishaps. Upgraded back up to mishaps. The Youth Project is now calling for McDonald's to reinstate Cooley and issue an apology. Don't do it. If you apologize to these people, their demands will get crazier and crazier and crazier. Kate, executive director of the Youth Project, says she knows the company has individual franchise owners. But it's important for the corporation to say this is not great. It will affect our reputation worldwide. So basically you're saying they should apologize for something they had no part in. Yeah. People that do not do anything wrong should not be apologizing for something they had no control over. In addition, Siwan says McDonald's should update their policies on gender identity and sexual orientation to make sure they're much more inclusive and respectful of everybody. Listen, Siwan, I've seen the freaks working at McDonald's. There ain't nobody more inclusive than Ronald McDonald. Furthermore, if I was a minimum wage paid employee and I had to take a gender orientation class just to work at McDonald's, I'd be pissed. Youth are constantly telling us they're denied employment opportunities because they're trans. We hear it happening all the time, Siwan said Thursday. Bullshit. I could probably count the number of trans teens in Halifax on my fingers. When it's in the media, we felt that it was important to show our support. Sure you did. A McDonald's spokesperson did not confirm Cooley had been let go, but forwarded an email statement from a branch owner, Bob Smith, on Wednesday. Smith said he was shocked by these allegations as they were simply not true. And you are simply copying pasting from your last article. Are you really that lazy? 2 other emails by Metro to McDonald's on Thursday asked for further response, and whether an apology would be made to Cooley weren't returned. Yes, that's them telling you to go fuck yourself. Since the media attention around Cooley included positive good news stories about his success, Siwan said there's something they'd expect an employer to be really celebrating. Yes, I agree. Usually this would be something good, which leads me to believe that there's other reasons for the dismissal of this person. To have that being brought up as part of the termination seems just completely backwards, Siwan said. I also agree. Have you ever considered the fact that this 17-year-old trans may have been lying? The very fact that it was brought up, according to the 17-year-old, when it's such a positive story and they're treating it as a negative. They're not treating it as a negative. They're not treating it as anything. The only person that brought up the dismissal for being trans was the teen himself. The only thing that I could see that being is transphobia. Yes, that is the only possible reason for the dismissal of this person. It couldn't be from I don't know, not showing up when you're supposed to, i.e. scheduling mishaps. When Metro went to Bedford location again Thursday, an employee said that they would pass along the request to see the store manager, and the right person would call back. There was no response before deadline. Well, they don't have to give you a deadline. In fact, they don't even have to speak to you, especially if he was let go from scheduling quote-unquote mishaps. Oh, but we're not done yet, I'm afraid. McDonald's owes fired Halifax trans teen an apology and an explanation. So they were found guilty, were they? I must have missed that part. Kenny Cooley told the world that he had found a family in his high school football team, and then he lost his job. What began as a good news story has evolved into a bona fide mess around a pivotal issue of trans employment, and a Halifax McDonald's has some explaining to do. Well, no. This very well could have nothing to do with trans employment, and Halifax McDonald's may not have any explaining to do. First, Kenny Cooley made international headlines. A trans team welcomed onto, of all things, a football team. Cooley found a family in one of the most gender-normative, hyper-masculine spaces in our society. You feel like you're a brother. He told media of his spot as a wide receiver for Halifax Westwood School Warriors. Then, 2 days after his story hit the news, he was fired from his job at McDonald's. Cooley told Metro News he was fired for a scheduling mix-up and for all the media coverage he's earned.
One of these things is not like the others. Which one is different? Do you know? Can you tell which thing is not like the others? I'll tell you if it is so.
Have you figured out which one doesn't belong yet? The McDonald's owner-operator Bob Smith said the allegations are shocking and not true. The Halifax LGBTQ group, the Youth Project, is calling on franchise to give Cooley his job back and apologize. That would be the obvious move. At the very least, Mr. Smith needs to explain why Cooley was let go. Cooley knows why he was let go. He failed to show up to work when he was supposed to, i.e. scheduling mishaps. If it wasn't simply for being trans and open about it, especially when, for trans people in this country, a stable job is kind of a pivotal issue on which so much else depends. Ugh. Anyone with a passing interest in trans rights will know the well-documented employment discrimination. No, they don't. According to the research from Trans Plus in Ontario, I can just imagine the research this gender studies has. The trans unemployment rate is at an incredible 20%. It's 7% nationally. Only 37% have full-time jobs, and the median income of trans people in Ontario is a mere $15,000. Who would have thought that somebody who is trans would be emotionally unbalanced to actually hold down jobs? The research found stories of trans people not getting jobs because of their gender, being fired or dismissed. Yeah, sure they did. It's the kind of discrimination set to be made illegal under the Liberals' Transgender Bill of Rights, introduced last spring. So, what you're saying is problem solved? But it's not only a matter of human rights. Really, human dignity. The discrimination of trans Canada is also bad for our economy. Really. 2011 UCLA study into the economic impact of trans employment discrimination found that it cost the state of Massachusetts millions of dollars a year, plus at least $3 million in additional healthcare expenditures. Wait a minute. $3 million in addition to healthcare expenditures. Isn't that a case against trans employment? Of course, for Cooley, this is personal. It's kind of made me feel really bad, he told Metro, of losing his job. It's not right. Yes, well, like I've said before, getting fired doesn't feel good. No. And neither is the employment fate for so many other trans people in the country. But the truth is, it's all too common. No, it isn't. You're dealing with less than 1% of the population. It is mathematically impossible for it to be too common. To me, this story doesn't sound like someone who was fired for being trans. It sounds like they were fired for not showing up to work.